And what we just witnessed through the Zoho and HireLogic service capability partnership is a powerful reminder that meaningful progress today is created when multiple ecosystems come together. Technology providers, enterprises, institutions, and implementation teams working with a shared intent. The real challenge, however, begins after the partnership is announced, when solutions must operate within complex environments, diverse stakeholders, and large-scale systems, and still deliver outcomes that truly matter. To take us into this next conversation.
I'm sorry, so one small announcement. HireLogic is part of Dexian family. We acquired HireLogic. It's an AI company last year, and it's integrated with Zoho. So it's our product which we are bundling with Zoho. So just in case if you wanted a further demo, you wanted to evaluate how this AI work on a recruitment platform, we'll be happy to provide that one if you need any help. So thank you.
And as he said that, with the same HireLogic, we're proceeding again to our next leader who will take up the next panel discussion. That's going to be the fourth panel for the day. And to take this into the next conversation, I'm pleased to invite a leader who brings a deep on-ground understanding of how transformation is built across organizations, sectors, and delivery ecosystems. So please join me in welcoming our Executive Director, this consulting at Dexian. We have Mr. Vishal Chowdhury with us. He'll introduce the next topic for the panel and then introduce the speakers, the delegates panelists, and the moderator for the session.
A very good afternoon to everybody. I was not supposed to be here. I am filling it on behalf of one of my peers. So a very warm welcome to everybody. A very good afternoon. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the next panel of the Dexian Experience Partners Event. I'm Vishal Chowdhury from Dexian, where I head the India consulting business for Dexian. Forging digital nations through public-private partnership, that's our topic of discussion today. Public-private partnerships have evolved. They are no longer just about infrastructure, they are about co-creating outcomes that matter. Today's discussion focuses on how digital innovation is redefining PPPs, strengthening institutions, driving growth, and delivering inclusive impact at scale. At Dexian, we believe technology plus partnership equal to transformation, when both sides align on purpose, accountability, and results. The panel today explores how this digital enablement is shaping PPP models to strengthen institutions, accelerate economic growth, and build systems that are resilient and inclusive. To bring this conversation to life and to connect research, governance, and enterprise execution on one stage, I am delighted to welcome a truly distinguished panel. Let me begin by welcoming our first panelist, Ms. Surbhi Bharti, Senior Research Analyst at AFC India Limited. Surbhi brings a strong research-led perspective shaped by her work with government agencies, universities, and public sector programs. Her expertise lies in understanding how data and policy translate into real, effective implementation on the ground. We are delighted to have you with us, Surbhi. Now, adding a deeply grounded public sector leadership perspective to this discussion is a leader who has shaped governance and digital reform from the inside. It is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Praveen, Kolaventi, retired IAS officer. With over 3 decades of public service, his experience spans district administration, large-scale e-governance programs, and citizen-centric digital reforms. Initiatives such as Smart Gov and HRMS continue to influence how governments approach technology, scale, and accessibility today. Sir, welcome you to the panel. Completing this panel is a leader who brings the vital bridge between enterprise innovation and public sector transformation. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sudhir, Bahaguna, CEO and Managing Director of Vidang Soft. With over 30 years of leadership across the global oil and gas and energy sectors, he has led major transformation programs and created impactful digital IPs across energy, smart cities, and e-governance. His ability to connect enterprise execution with public sector innovation makes his perspective especially relevant to today's discussion. Moderating this discussion is Mr. Shrikant Srinivasan, Vice President and Head Membership and Outreach at NESCOM. With over 25 years of experience across IT, telecom, and industrial sectors, he has played a key role in shaping industry dialogue and fostering collaboration between government, enterprises, and technology ecosystems.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Dexian, for this opportunity to be on this discussion today. And okay, I think the topic is very, very interesting, right? I mean, it's about public-private partnerships for digital growth, and maybe, I'll take a minute to kind of get the context in, and then we'll talk to all our three panelists who have extensive experience in their own right in their respective industries. I mean, today, as a nation, I think we are at a real, very interesting point, right? Digital acceleration, digital transformation. DPI is the name of the game today. And of course, to add to it is the public-private partnership, which is happening in a very large way to ensure that the acceleration of transformation reaches the masses quickly, right? Just a case in point, I think we all know how it's impacting us, but on the DPI side, I think it's pertinent to kind of note the numbers, and I thought it might be interesting at this point of time to understand that whether it's typically the India stack, right, as we call it, the digital public infrastructure, apparently the DPI contributed to about 0.9% of the GDP. The digital public infrastructure contributed to 0.9% of the GDP in 2022, and it's expected to kind of touch anywhere between 2.9 and 4.2% by 2030, which only means that it's here to stay, and we are way ahead of the game as a nation. With that, maybe I think we'll get started with, Surbhi, if we can get started with you on this.
Sure.
I mean, we've seen, digital infrastructure, and we know how it is, right? But given that you represent the agriculture domain, right, the finance corporation, how do you think digital infrastructure can actually transform subsidy delivery? Because that's a huge piece. It reaches the masses, it reaches the common man across the length and breadth of this country. And do you think there are, from your experience, any specific barriers which are there in this, and how do you think this can, the digital piece can, transform the whole game?
Yeah, thank you for the
Thank you.
question. But just to begin with, it is there. I can say that there's no denying in the fact that definitely digital infrastructure has efficiently, and it has outreach to the maximum people. But what we cannot deny is that there are definite challenges which comes along with it.
Yes.
And we need to understand why it has still not reached out to the maximum beneficiaries and to the grassroots level. The point is that it is important that the digital infrastructure needs to be aligned with the human capacities, to the social realities, and also to understand what sort of infrastructure, services which are available, facilities which are available. So now the point is that we cannot forget is that we do know that there's a large digital divide which still exists at the grassroots level. While we all are here talking about the AI and having our smartphones and using all the best and the top-notch technologies, but at the ground root level, what we do know is that when we talk about the farmers, probably they still lack the good internet facility, connectivity, the usability of the smartphones, and also to be able to understand the user interface. So while we are talking about the digital infrastructure for giving out to the subsidies, reaching out to the last mile, but it's still not reaching out to them. So there's a lot of digital divide which still exists. And adding on to that, there is also a lot of what I would say is that, because we understand that digital transformation depends on accuracy, it depends on the technology.
Yes.
So there's still scope for errors which exist.
True.
So every time a farmer's name is misspelled, or a data which is not aligned to how it should be reaching out to the beneficiary, the subsidy is not reaching out to them. And so and when it is a digital platform, so there's also a lack of what I would say is the grievance redressal. They do not know whom to reach out. They do not know where to go and where to get it resolved. So the lack of human interface is removed when we talk about the digital infrastructure.
True.
But at the same time, they do not know where to reach out, and that adds on to the problem.
Yeah.
And also, it also depends on what sort of data and which is available. So there are a lot of marginal farmers which are there. There are also elderly farmers, women farmers which are there. So a lot of records, land records, which are not updated onto the digital data what we talk about. So in that case also, when we talk about the subsidy, it is not reaching out to them. So there are a lot of challenges, like I am pointing it out to right now. But what we can, like you've asked, how we can actually overcome these challenges. We do know that these challenges exist, but we have to look forward, and how we can actually overcome these challenges, that we need to have much more further inclusive policies, so that a lot of inclusivity is there. And with that, we also need to have accountability with the structures, with the infrastructures that we have. And once we have that, and these things are aligned with the social realities, we can have sort of the best model where we can actually reach out to the last mile. Because we can have the best of digital infrastructure, but until it reaches out to its actually what it aims for, what it objectives for, so that remains so.
True. I mean, I think you really called it out, right? This continues to be the gap between intent and impact, right? The intent is there, but the impact is still, there is a gap, and that needs to be filled in. And digital will still go a long way given the spread. But I mean, given that, I mean, thank you. And I think with this, maybe I'll move to Mr. Sudhir. I mean, we talked about the gap between intent and impact. And maybe with you, I mean, given that you come from a tech, and you're representing the tech industry here in that sense, concept to reality gap is also is something that we all see around us, right? From your experience of scaling solutions, especially the AgriTech space, if I may call it, what do you think is the biggest gap, especially when government funds come in, et cetera, right? There is always a difference there is always a gap between the pilot programs that actually gets done. But when you want to scale it in reality at the farmer level, at the last mile, there is always a gap. How do you think we can kind of get over this? Do you think PPP is a good model to do it? Do we use the larger ecosystem to kind of ensure that the proof of concept becomes a reality and eventually a production impact?
Thank you, Dexian, and especially Kumar, for inviting me and part of this panel. You see, this question is relevant for all the IT or technology initiative from the government. And this is a question of the technology deployment vis-a-vis the ground realities. If we see your PPP model, maybe two terms. One is we technology provider providing a technology along with the government being an implementer partners. So that extent we are already on that mode. Now, what especially addressing the gap, let us understand the stakeholders. Government is one stakeholder. Farmers, they are the stakeholder. And as a technology provider, though we are not directly technology stakeholder, but we also have some responsibility to how to ensure that initiative is successful. So government want to deploy the system. It's basically mandated. They want to monitor their funding, they want to monitor their target, and data comes to them. Up to that extent, government is very keen on that. But when it goes to farmers, farmer will see what benefit I am getting.
Yes.
First. Second, whether my income is also increasing. Third, in my real farming term, what this application is giving to me.
Yes.
whether I'm getting a payment on time,
Yeah.
and top of that, whether this application is, can I use this application the way I want?
Yes.
I cannot operate a smartphone. So here comes the role of the technology provider like us. Can I understand the farmer's requirement? Can I do an innovation in my application? I know that most of the people, if one today is go to any village, most popular way of communication is voice chat in WhatsApp, because they don't know how to punch the key. Can technology provider provide such kind of the solution where I am communicating with my application provider with my own way? Maybe SMS, maybe chat. So one is, gap is more on the expectation or addressing the need of the farmers.
Yeah.
Most important. Second, when government only start deploying giving a pilot project for you, how long? Unless they take this ownership for a lifelong, farmer is not for a day. They are there they will be there. Yeah. So your pilot project built in a concept of how do I ensure we are updating that technology day-wise. If I leave that, deploy and leave it, technology is bound to fail. So we should ensure, instead of the typical AMC culture, annual maintenance contract, why we should have AMC contract? I never need a AMC for Microsoft Word. So as a technology provider, we should ensure that we are giving a system where no maintenance support is required. Instead, government should work for upgradation, continuous development. Same amount of money they should use for daily, monthly, weekly basis. How do I enhance my capability of the application? Yeah. So once we address that problem, that will get reduced. Now second part, you say PPP, how it can be different, right? Second part is like we have a successful model in the road, transport. Why can't government consider this also as an opportunity for PPP? I'll give an example like Dexian has this AgriTech application. We have 28 state and 8 UTs. Maybe a couple of UTs may not be applicable. Why can't this technology can be deployed across the 34, 35 states? It's a simple, if he has succeeded in the Bihar, they should change their tender processing. The proof of concept is already done in the Bihar. Let deploy this with maybe 1/10, 1/20th or 1/50th of cost. So government also need to see that if any proof of concept has succeeded, forget tendering process, ask Dexian, you have done a good job in Bihar, let us deploy across India.
True.
I cover almost I think 800 districts.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you touched upon a very important thing, right? Today, sometimes in the name of following a process, every time we don't use the process of replication and end up wasting a lot of time, money, resource, and whatever else. And of course, I know the impact that it can be created eventually. Very true. Absolutely. I mean, now maybe Mr. Praveen, coming to you. I know both of them touched upon the impact and how DPI and typically the PPP model can be enhanced. And I know with your own experience of establishing in the bureaucracy the entire e-governance system and so on and so forth, what do you think? How do you think and I'm sure as government, in the government, you must have done multiple PPP kind of models in the past. How do you think this can really take the power of digital transformation to the last mile quickly?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on this panel, and the Dexian experience is so good.
True.
So I'm really enjoying it. So coming to today's questions regarding public-private partnership. So I have to just go back in time a little bit and try to tell the largely a tech audience here, so try to also tell you about the world outside the tech world. So when we began, way back in time, the countries of the world were divided into a few economic philosophies: capitalism, communism, and many varieties of what is called socialism. So that capitalism had a total domination of the private sector, and communism had the opposite. Socialism had a mix of these things. So India opted for socialism, a mix of public and private from the beginning. So we were, in the beginning decades, we were more, the more dominance was given to the public sector. And you know, the 90s is when the liberalization, privatization, globalization happened. That's when there was a more shift of emphasis towards the private sector. So I'm just going into this background because to just make my point that it will always be like this. It will always be a partnership, and that is, it will always be desirable for, from my point of view, for a few reasons. There can be many reasons. There are actually public-private partnerships are of many, many kinds, and all kinds of things exist. Some are successful, some are not successful. But overall, what drives this partnership is the fact that government is capable of those large investments in public sector, which are needed to lay a foundation for private players to later on do something. So government is suited for CAPEX, and government is typically very weak in O&M, in operation and maintenance of something. They are very weak. So that's why this match is very good when the private sector comes in.
Yeah.
So the government can lay roads, and that takes a lot of money, and also run buses, public buses in the beginning. But after all this is in place, when the roads are good, then the buses are running good, then there's an interest in the private players that I want to make a business here. But you won't find a private player starting from a time that I'll lay a road and I'll start here. It's not viable for them. So that's why this partnership is good when government takes care of the big long-term things, lays a foundation, then has the private players come in. In the example of roads, if you have, even today, if you have a private player applying, making an application to take some routes for private buses, he's likely not to take the remote villages where there are less people coming. That's not profitable for him. So if we leave it totally to the private people, then some villages will not be served. So there is a role for public sector in some areas. And taking off from the communist and socialist perspective, we have tended to, many countries have tended to keep some sectors completely to themselves, such as defense, telecom, electricity, railways. They never wanted to privatize, lots of countries. So that's the way it is, because it's difficult to take care of things, it's difficult to serve the people. You can't have a private model there. But what was the good innovation is to try to say that other than these, let's not also monopolize health, education, all kinds of other things you don't want to monopolize. You want to leave it free so that there is richer participation, more contributions coming from the private sectors. The private sector is now very good for the O&M, very agile, very efficient. So it has elements what the public sector doesn't have. So that's why this partnership is very good. If you have a PPP model somewhere, which is well designed, that is the closest to success you can get.
Absolutely, and I think you touched upon an important point, right? O&M, right? I mean, if I really extend the word O&M, actually I would call it as efficiency and customer experience. And again, if I go back to Surbhi on this point, customer experience can only be enhanced and bettered with data, right? I mean, only data can make things better. And I think, I mean, everybody says data is important, data is critical, data is the new oil. I probably think data is the new oxygen, because without that, life is not going to kind of move on, right? I mean, for every business, the oxygen is going to be data at some point of time. With that, I think, Surbhi, if I can come back to you and say, agriculture data becomes extremely valuable today. Agriculture data is rather invaluable because there is a lot of data available. There's a lot of concern about who owns what, especially in, I mean, as you rightly said, right, different farmers of various kinds, various sizes, marginal and large. And again, how do we kind of structure this? How do you kind of ensure that farmers retain control of this data on one side? But again, ensuring that this data can be very responsibly used for innovation so that eventually their efficiency can be brought up.
Right. I think like you said that, you know, the agriculture data, farmer data is invaluable, and I completely agree with this. And I mean, with this, I think my understanding about the farmer data, agriculture data would be that, you know, this data is not to be considered like a raw data to be mined, but to be considered as a resource to be governed and to be used in their best interest. So I think that is the perspective that we need to take forward to begin with. And coming on to the question where you're asking that who controls it and who owns it, definitely there's no doubt that who owns it, because the data belongs to the farmer. It is the agriculture data and it is about their data. And so we need to see it in different light, that is who owns the ownership, who owns it, who safeguards it, as in the custodianship, and the usage right, who has the usability and who uses it. So when I talk about the ownership of the data, it definitely lies with the farmers. And when we talk about the custodianship of the data, it comes with the government. So this is the place where people who stores it and safeguards the data which is available. And when I talk about the usability, the usage right, this is the place where private partners come into play. So, of course, this comes with a lot of responsibility and accountability. So this needs to be taken care of. And when I talk about this, so a lot of control needs to be given to the farmers so that we can ensure that the misuse and no misuse is basically taking place of the data. So a lot of, to begin with, is the consent that we talk about. We need to have consent from the farmers in different languages and all different set of data which is available about them. What sort of data do they want to give to the private partners? And also they need to have an understanding for what usage the data is going to be used. So their understanding, their consent is the foundation of what creates the data, definitely. And then of course how to ensure that it is not being misused. So it is important that, you know, there's a set standards of prohibition that these data are not being resold for other advertisements or generating some sort of selling or commodities. And also understanding what do you say, as in without their consent it is not being used, or any different set of data is not being created, you know, which basically what do you say, denies them of their own subsidies and their benefits, that is. And with this, because private partners are coming into play, we need to ensure that the audits are being done with this, are implied on the private partners, and also the compliances are being done. So these are some check mechanisms which we can ensure, and the data can be, you know, can be mined out also, but with some sort of responsibility, and can be used further. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think today consent has to be by choice. Consent has to be by information, right? It has to be informed consent. I mean, a consent of this nature, a data of this nature should be as treated with the same responsibility to retrieve the healthcare data.
Right. And meaningful data is being created out of that
yes.
data.
And also tell the farmer why this data is being used and how it will help him or her at some point of time.
Important.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. And I mean, now we've talked about data. Now we're coming to tech. Mr. Sudhir, I think tech companies handle a lot of sensitive data. We talked about it, right? There's always the need to balance data. Data reside in multiple sources, more so in today's world where data does reside on the cloud and hence has its own challenge. And with AI coming in, obviously the how the data is being used with or without your knowledge. And there's a lot of sovereign data available here, and how do you kind of use this? What do you think governments are doing today to ensure that the right kind of mandates are coming in and this data is being used responsibly?
I'll see two aspects here. One is educating the decision makers. You see, we have a very success story in Aadhaar, GST portal, income tax portal. Our all data is already available to this portal. And you see, one of the best success story of India vaccination, not talk about much. 2.2 billion vaccination was only possible through the technology, and that to be partnership with it. Somebody was developed that application.
Yes.
So this fear of data is not a valid fear. It's only you need to convince the decision maker what this is already happening. We all are sitting here, everybody knows, Google knows where we are sitting at the extent of the 7 meters accuracy.
Absolutely.
Right? Second, where is my most confidential data? Hotmail, Gmail? Where is my most financial data? Bank, this is my cloud. Or where is my most wealth data? Again, in income tax portal. So where is the question of that? Second part is system perspective. It's an architecture, system architecture issue. Let data should stay a government infrastructure. And like AI, I should put my AI element in their infrastructure, not other around. I should not pull a data here. I should give a technology element in a way. I have a data layer, I have an intelligent layer. So if I am able to provide a AI at their infrastructure where they feel secure, I again say where they feel secure, right? So this becomes very easy. And success story is there. So I think I have some more on the now educating the decision makers, making them understand, boss, you are already doing this. Yes. Right? And any data is not a confidential data these days. If I share my Aadhaar card, what I'm losing? Though there is a lot of lobbies happen that has got up to Supreme Court also. No, Aadhaar is my personal data. But either I'm losing anything out of it. So I think this will slowly go away, especially with AI. You know that what is happening.
True. I think, and secondly, I think the way with all this multi-factor authentication, etc., coming in, some of these fears can also be eventually done away with, right? Because even if somebody has your Aadhaar or whatever data, they cannot, a transaction or it can't be used without a multi-factor authentication or an OTP kind of a thing, which anyway eventually has to be cleared by you, right? Okay, so I think I'll kind of, I'll be conscious of time, and I think I'll start with Mr. Praveen here. Before we close, I know we've kind of touched upon a lot of data. We've touched upon technology, the impact of technology, DPI, and so on. Maybe, as we kind of get this discussion to a close, maybe I'll start with you, saying what can be one call to action or one commitment or call to action that you think should be done by the system, by the government, to make all this happen. Maybe one policy action in DPI, etc., maybe something that can be done in the next 6 to 12 months. How can it create a large impact?
See, I'm speaking from more a government perspective.
Okay.
So maybe I'm the only guy here who's...
No. So we'll ask you then both as an ex-government employee and as in your personal capacity.
Private and tech world, and the government is a strange thing for them. So
Yeah,
that's
true.
why I am telling them something from our side. That is, what happens is, the government is not cut out for some things.
Okay.
I just mentioned operation and maintenance.
Yes.
You're just not, you can invest some large funds and make a museum, okay? The government. But the day-to-day sitting there and giving tickets to visitors, etc., if you see that, if you see a private museum and if you see a government, you can see the difference.
Yes.
If you see a hotel run by a government, you can see the difference in the reception desk. So we are not cut out for that, for the day-to-day things, and when we attempt to do that, it doesn't go well. True. So it's something we should realize and we should move out of. What we should be doing is the CAPEX, permanent infrastructure, big things, then policies, long-standing policies. So that's where we should be. Sure. So my only answer to you can be, let's stick to our strengths. Let government keep out of those smaller things, and let private people do those things. And private people cannot invest for such a long term in, for example, railways. They can't build railways and try to
long gestation.
have a recovery from tickets. It's very difficult because 2-3 times in my time, people came to, they wanted to build with my help a metro rail something. When they gave a proposal from a business viability point of view, it was totally hopeless.
Yes.
You can't build a metro rail and get something back from tickets. So then he was saying, what concessions can government give me, and how do I make it and all. So it's a very difficult thing. So I'll just touch upon one small point which I missed. That is just as government has invested in railways, electricity, all the important things. Now that in recent times, especially after 1990s, when internet came into the popular use, it was there much before, but the more public use started in the 90s. And then, so today government has invested in public digital infrastructure in India. Everybody knows about the India stack. So you have the identity like Aadhaar, and you have the payment systems based on UPI, and you have got the data governance. So the Aadhaar led to better faster KYC and getting the bank accounts done. The UPI led to so many people doing business now using phone pay or some very simple thing. And you have ONDC for data now. So we have once again laid the big infrastructure, and I am really excited to see that when the private players start moving in more and more, so wonderful things are going to happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think one takeaway that whatever you said, if I can summarize, is you're saying even the government should pick its battles right? Pick the right battles. Don't go behind the wrong ones. Very true. So, with Mr. Sudhir, I think in one big ask, do you think from a tech industry point of view, if really the power of digital transformation has to reach the masses?
Very simple. Government should take this as a mission, the way they have popularized the digitization of transactions, right? Similarly, if they go on the critical mission, all automation of all the aspects, right? And especially this is a need of ours, because I'm telling you very seriously, down the line, under 1 or 2, 3 years, all the application deployed in government sector are going to become irrelevant.
True.
So they need to act very fast.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Surbhi, if from your side, I know you kind of represent the corporation that finances agriculture, but do you think one change that you would like to see personally, which can really make the speed of what is happening today 5x?
I would say, to have that last mile reach, definitely the digitization and capacity building along with that, definitely.
Okay, great. That's great. Thank you. I think indeed some very, very good insights from all of you. Thank you. I'm sure each one of us in the room also kind of, enjoyed this. My takeaway is that, we can build a lot of rails, guardrails, but it has to have its own consent, come its own guidelines, and so on and so forth. And of course, reaching the last mile with all the guardrails becomes extremely important. With that, and last but not the least is, benefit should not be perceived, can be perceived, but eventually it has to become real, right? It has to translate into the farmer's account. That's when it becomes real. With that, thank you all. Thank you very much.
We are Dexian, in the business for good.